Hello you guys, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Bella, and in today's video we will be wrapping up all the books I read in July and all the books I'm looking forward to reading in August. I guess we won't be wrapping up the books I'm looking forward to reading, but we'll be chatting about them, predicting them, etc. So anyway, I am typically reading between 2 and 3, maybe 4 on a really busy month, books in a month, and July was no different. I read 3 books, and all of these books I enjoyed for the most part, quite a bit. I think definitely wasn't like a, month of 5 stars, but we did get 1 5-star read in July, so I think that is pretty good. But yeah, overall I think July was a good reading month. I have gotten into a really bad habit of kind of procrastinating reading all of my books, and then I have to like binge the last 2 in the last week of the month, and July was no different. So the first book I read, which this is usually how it goes, was our book club book for the month, which was my lovely friend Brooke's birthday pick. As you know, in my local book club with my girly friends, if it is your birthday in the month, you get to pick the book that we read. And technically Brooke's birthday is in June, but we have another girly whose birthday is in June as well, so we broke it up and Brooke did July's pick. So the book that Brooke chose was Bonded by Thorns. I do not have the physical copy of this, so I'm just gonna put a photo on the screen. But this book is written by Elizabeth Helen, and this is Beasts of the Briar #1. Also, if I'm looking down, I'm looking at my laptop with all of my details of what I read and what it's all about. And I believe I've read the synopsis of this book already on this channel, but basically this is a why choose 4 beastly princes, kind of a Beauty and the Beast retelling. Our FMC Rosalina, right? Rosalina, I think that's her name. She is a bookworm. She's a little bit of a nerd. She lives in a small town, and in her town, everybody thinks that she is quirky and weird, and they also think her dad is crazy because he believes that her mom was whisked away or stolen away or got lost in the land of the Fae. So he is continuously looking for her, continuously hunting for her, and then one day he goes missing. So she goes looking for her father, again, very classic Beauty and the Beast, and stumbles upon a castle and stumbles upon a wolf who has taken her father captive because he snuck in, again, looking for shelter, whatever, and she exchanges her life for her father, and now she is stuck in this castle with our 4 handsome princes. It was a really fun read, a really quick read. My friend Brooke was a little nervous that we would think it was kind of cringy because it is kind of one of those like smutty, silly fantasy books, but I thought it was so fun from the very beginning. I think if you're able to kind of suspend the fact that you're reading a smutty retelling of Beauty and the Beast, but instead of 1 beast, there's 4, you're gonna love it. If that's your thing, you're gonna love it. It starts out a smidge cringe, as they all do, but I thought the story and the plot actually got really, really interesting. I think the characters are very well written. Each of the beasts has a very distinct personality, which I loved. They kind of all fill a certain role in Rosalina's life. And they all are just like obsessed with her, and they're so protective of her. And overall, I ate this book up. I listened to the audiobook for the majority of it, and I highly recommend. I think the audiobook was pretty good. This also has like elemental, like seasonal magic. So we have the Prince of Winter, Fall, Summer, and Spring. And then we also have the Prince of Thorns, who's kind of like an underling dark prince, which we don't get a lot about him in the first book, but I'm excited to keep reading. So anyway, I gave this book a 3.5. I think it was a really, really, really solid first book in a fantasy series. The cliffhanger at the end is diabolical, and it definitely left me wanting more. Here comes my little weenie. You coming to say hello? She's been making a lot of cameos. She's been my little Velcro girl lately. Anyway, she was supposed to be upstairs with Trevor, so one moment. Okay, Bowie has been taken back upstairs. She loves to sit right by the camera and chew on her bone, which makes lots of noise, as you can imagine. So anyway, yes, I really enjoyed this book. I'm excited to continue the series. I don't know if you've noticed, I've been starting a lot of series and not finishing a lot of series. I keep getting like burnt out of them for some reason. Like I'll start something and then the idea of the fact that it's got like 5-6 books that I need to catch up on, I just am like, nope, over it. I need something new. I need something fresh. So we'll see. I don't know when I'm going to pick this back up again. I really did enjoy it, and I kind of considered it being the next book I pick up. But we'll see. I haven't started reading anything for August, so I don't know. The cats are now going crazy. I live in a zoo, so. Anyway, the next book I read in July was The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston, not sure. And this book I gave a 3.5 star as well. I think that this book, the beginning of it, I was really kind of struggling to get into it. I was kind of like, who are we? Where are we? What are we doing? But as I read and got to know our characters a little bit more, I definitely got a little bit more invested and more interested. I really enjoyed our MMC. I really enjoyed our MMC. I think he was fleshed out really, really well. He was very vivid, rich, detailed, and I just really connected with him a lot. I did not really connect as much with our FMC. Not for any like particular reason. I don't know if maybe like her personalities just didn't like click or what, but like I did not find her, like I didn't find it to be super believable. But aside from that, I think that the characters in general were written really well. And I didn't like dislike her by any means. I just didn't feel like super like connected to her like I would say I did like in like People We Meet on Vacation, for example. I feel like I felt really connected to both of the main characters. And in this one, I felt more connected to the MMC than the FMC. I also think at the beginning of the book, the like magical realism, I was kind of struggling. Like it didn't like make a lot of sense to me. And this continued throughout the book a little bit. There are definitely moments where I was kind of like, huh? Like, I feel like we didn't get a lot of explanation, which is fine. It was meant to be quirky, silly, fun. But there were moments I kind of left questioning, like kind of wanting an epilogue or wanting some sort of explanation on what happened. There's a specific scene with her aunt. If you've read it, you know what I'm talking about, towards the end of the book where it goes completely unresolved, which I understand because when I was reading it, I was like, ooh, how are we going to navigate this? This is going to be a complicated conversation, but we just never got it. Like we never got to see what happened, which is fine. I am definitely one of those people where I'm like, okay, forgive me. I don't even remember what I was talking about. I just had to take my cats upstairs. They were wrestling. It was crazy. Anyway, what I was saying was, I am one of those people where I don't necessarily feel like everything needs to make sense. Like I'm fine to leave some things to my imagination. However, I just really wanted to know. Like this was one of those things, it was like kind of a theme throughout the book and we just don't really get it answered. I also think it just felt a smidge shallow to me at certain times. But in general, I think it was fun. It was a good summer read. I would definitely recommend it to people who enjoy magical realism. I also really, really loved how you were getting little Easter eggs like throughout the book, and you would like see somebody on a subway and we would get like a small descriptor, and then later they would come up and it would be like, oh, this is so-and-so, or it would be like you see somebody here, or like you have a conversation with somebody there, like something like that. And I love that. I love kind of spotting Easter eggs or having a moment where you're like, oh my gosh, same guy, same girl, same situation, whatever. I think that can be really fun. So I did really, really enjoy that aspect of it. And overall, I think good book. I'm glad I read it. It was on my TBR forever, so I'm glad I finally checked it off. This is another one I don't have physically, but when I start talking about this, like at the beginning, I'll put a photo. But yeah, I really enjoyed it and I would recommend it. So Okay, and then the final book I read in July, I do have the physical copy of, was Remarkably Bright Creatures by Shelby Van Pelt. And this was our 5-star. This book was absolutely fantastic. I did an immersive read of this with the audiobook. Not the whole thing, but I mean just about the whole thing. I was sick last Friday and just binged, just completely binged this book. It was the last day of the month, so I was really motivated and I fully binged this. That was my last reading vlog, is where I read this. And you can see that I'm in the same pajamas all day, reading it all day. And it was fantastic. First of all, the audiobook is really good. And I just loved how we got to know each character so vividly, and so in depth. I really enjoyed following along with each character. I do think at the beginning of the book it is a smidge confusing because you get just introduced to like 3 or 4 if you count Marcellus, which I do. So 4 different characters kind of all at the beginning of the book, and you're kind of like, how is this relevant? How do they tie in? It's not super clear until they make the connection. And once they make the connection, you're like, oh, okay, and all the pieces start falling into place. So I did really enjoy that, kind of going back to, I just love an Easter egg. I love when things connect. And this turned into a little bit of a mystery. I think it kind of is marketed as a little bit of a mystery as well, but I just wasn't really, I kind of went into it blind. Like, I didn't really know much about it. I knew it was essentially narrated by a octopus, and I knew our main character Tova's son had disappeared, but I wasn't entirely sure like what elements of the story were going to be a mystery, what we were going to be finding out, etc. So I really enjoyed walking through this. Once I finished reading this that same night, ended up watching the movie, and I also really enjoyed the movie. I think I am a really harsh critic of TV/movie adaptations, and I think this was one, if you're not a reader, is a good one. I think if you are a reader, please read this first, because you definitely get obviously a more in-depth understanding of the characters, of the situation, of the world. But I think if you are just not a reader, you're like, listen, I mean, that book's 400 pages, I'm not picking it up, then watch the movie. And I think you can still really get the heart of the story, and I think that's really what is the most important. So like I said, this is a 5-star read for me. I really loved it. Even after, I'm pretty sure in the last reading wrap-up / TBR video, I said I was not gonna pick another literary fiction because they make me feel a little bit depressed sometimes. But I'm so glad I did. I do think this was an emotional story. I think if you are sensitive, definitely look up trigger warnings, or just like, I don't even know if trigger warning is the right thing. I don't think there's necessarily anything super triggering in here, but definitely emotional. And sometimes it's nice to kind of know what you're getting into. Grief is a big theme in this book. So I would definitely look into that, drug use, things like that. So if you're sensitive, maybe just check those things out. But yeah, in general, first of all, beautiful book. I love the foiling on the title and the author's name. I do wish this was not there, but I don't know why they do that. But anyway, beautiful book, inside and out. Highly recommend. So that wraps us up for July. I wish I was one of those booktubers that could read 50 books in a month and just go on and on and on and tell you all about them. I have a desire to one day maybe reach that, maybe get to like, 6, 7, 9 books in a month, but I am just not there yet. I do still work a real, this is not my job. I have a job, so I still do that, and I read in my free time, so 3 books is really all I can reasonably do. I think maybe if I cut down my scrolling time a little bit, maybe we could squeeze out 4, but life is hard sometimes, and sometimes I don't want to be reading. I want to be watching TV or doing other crafts or things like that. So reading is just not always my number 1 hobby of choice every single day, and because of that, I usually end up reading about 3. But on that note, let's go into what I'm thinking about reading for August. I am trying to decrease my social media time. I've kind of been thinking about playing around with a video, like a no scroll, something like that, and kind of going through what I do in a day, seeing what all I get up to, etc. So maybe we'll be able to capture some additional book reading in August. But for August, I am gonna be honest with you guys. I have kind of felt a slump creeping in because I am so ready for fall and spooky season, but there's a couple issues with that. One, it's August, so fall/spooky season technically doesn't start for another like month and a half. I think the official first day of fall is like September 21st or something like that. So we've got a little time. I also live in Florida, so it's still like 95, 110 degrees outside every day. So getting into the fall spirit is a bit of a struggle. So on one hand, I'm like, should I full send? Should I go full dark academia, spooky fun books? Or should I hold on to summer a little bit longer and go more summer? And I'm not sure what is going to like motivate me more. I will say last night, I almost picked up and started Nocticadia, which is a kind of dark academia, teacher-student, age gap romance. I think it's like urban fantasy type vibes. And I do think that would be really good. I'm not saying I'm not gonna pick it up in August. I just haven't yet. I also have, as you guys know, I don't necessarily pick a like set TBR because I am such a mood reader that I just will not get a TBR finished if I just randomly pick books I'm not in the mood for. I have kind of considered getting out of my comfort zone a little bit and maybe doing like a TBR jar for like one of our TBR picks. So I'll have like a couple mood read picks, a couple, or like one like TBR jar pick, and then like a book club pick type situation. But we're not there yet. So the one book that I know for a fact that I will be reading in August is Broken Dove, because that is my local book club book for the month. So unless it's a DNF, it's on my TBR, I will be reading it. I did read Silver Elite. I think I did mention in my like partial reread of Silver Elite, I didn't quite enjoy it as much as I did my first read like about a year ago. So I'm not like pumped to be reading Broken Dove. I'm way behind on my book club chapters. Book club is tomorrow and I basically have to fully catch up. Well, tomorrow when it's me, but if it's you, on the day this video is posted, book club was yesterday. So hopefully I finished. Who knows? Anyway, but I will be reading Broken Dove this month. So that is number one on the August TBR. And then, yeah, so I have not picked my Bella's Book Babes book club book for the month yet. I still need to do that. So I'm going to kind of go get some recommendations, things like that, and figure out. Hello. Quick update from Editing Bella. We actually did choose, and we are going to be reading Daughter of No World. So I'm very excited about this. So that will be the second book on my TBR. So realistically, we're probably looking at like one or two more books. I'll probably talk about two or three because these are also going to be the ones I'm suggesting to Bella's Book Babes. So this one of these three most likely will get recommended, or I'm sorry, will get chosen. So it will kind of make sense to discuss. So a couple of the ones I'm considering is the first one I actually do have. Let's see. Okay, yes. So one of the first ones I'm heavily considering for August is Bloodbound by Ellis Hunter. This was a book of the month pick, and this one's really cool. It's got like really pretty sprayed edges, and this is the inside cover, and let's see what the back cover. Yeah, this is the back cover. Are those the same? Yes, okay, they're the same. I thought so. Okay, and this is actually written by co-authors, so Katie Ellis Brown and Becky Hunter, which is interesting. I always wonder how people write books together. That's crazy. So anyway, impressed by that. This also is a really cool dust jacket because it's reversible, so you have the like red option, but you can also turn it around and there is like a blue option, and I chose to display mine with the red because I'm a red girly. But yeah, I am heavily considering this. This is about witches and dragon riders, and they kind of are like dueling for the source of magic in this world. I kind of don't know a ton about this, which I kind of love because I love going into fantasy books blind, because I tend to, since I've read quite a few fantasy books, I tend to be not judgmental, but like I kind of get a preconceived notion of what the book might be about. So I kind of like going in not knowing much of anything, but this is one that is a heavy contender for August. Another book that is kind of similar in vibe, that is a heavy contender for me for August, is Daughter of No Worlds by Carissa Broadbent. Actually, a couple of Carissa Broadbent's books are making it onto this list today. I actually started this, as you can see, barely. I got to page 50, probably a couple months now, honestly, almost a year ago now. I think I started this like in December or January of either the beginning of this year or end of last year, and ended up putting it down like kind of softy enough. I just was not in the mood for this kind of book at that time. Also, at the end of the year, I tend to kind of hibernate a little bit and do a lot of family time, so I just wasn't having a lot of reading time in general. But I do really want to pick this up. The entire series was on sale at one point, so I bought all 3 of the hardback new editions because they're beautiful. Like, look at that. Oh, I love it. I love the cover of these. So yeah, I ended up buying all of them. So I don't know if I'm gonna like it. Maybe it's the worst series ever, I don't know. It gets really good reviews, so I don't think that's the case, but I hope that I like it. I'm really considering picking this up for August, and kind of diving into it. I think that could be fun because I could theoretically read this one in August and then kind of continue the series as the seasons do kind of change, get a little darker, a little gloomier, and I could be finishing it towards the end of September, October vibes, and I think that could be really fun. It's fairly long. Like, this book is like almost 500 pages, but again, I have been kind of craving a fantasy, and this book is about a former slave fighting for justice, a reclusive warrior who no longer believes it exists, and a dark magic that will entangle their fates. I've heard this is a really good enemies to lovers, and I am a freaking sucker for enemies to lovers. So if that is true, I think I will enjoy this. So this is heavy on the list of fantasies I'm considering picking up in August. Let's see. What else? Okay, another book I have been considering for August, if I do decide I want to lean a little bit back into the summer romance vibe of things, and that is Dolly All the Time by Annabelle Monaghan. And I have never read an Annabelle Monaghan book, but I have been hearing really good things about this one. It takes place in Rhode Island, which I love. It is a fake dating scenario, and Dolly seems to be kind of like the oldest daughter, kind of controlling in the sense of she likes everything to go her way. She's very self-reliant, and I can relate to that. So I thought this one might be a good little good book to kind of end out the summer romance season before I dive fully headfirst into fall and the fall reads. I have a lot of exciting fall reads I'm excited about, but this kind of seemed like maybe one more, to rally for the summer. So that one is definitely one I'm heavily considering. I also have been considering continuing a couple of series that I've talked about. I'm not going to go in like super depth because, again, this would be the second book or the third or whatever in the series, so there's not a lot to talk about in general, but I've considered finishing the books that are out for the Direbound series. I know the second book is out for that one. I also have been considering reading the second of the Beasts of the Briar series. I also have been considering reading the third in the From Blood and Ash series. Just a few that I've been thinking about continuing instead of just hopping on something new and trying to do. But yeah, those are a few that I've kind of been playing around with the idea of picking up. I think most likely I will not do the Diarbound one because that one really feels more like winter time to me than even fall. But heavily considering the Bonded by Thorns or the From Blood and Ash, because I did really enjoy From Blood and Ash and got like really sucked in. Both of those were like, you know, Hall of Fame, top tier reads for me, and then I just put it down and did not pick it back up again. Because again, me with series right now, I just cannot commit. I also have been playing around with the idea of doing a couple of rereads because we do have some new releases coming out. I know that The Knave and the Moon, which is the second in the Night and the Moth series, is coming out at the end of this year. I think maybe in September actually, so really soon. Kind of considering doing a reread of that. I actually have considered doing a reread of Diarbound for the second one, but again, feels a little bit more wintry, so that one we may circle back to closer to like the November, December time. I have considered doing a reread of the Kindred Curse saga. There's 3 books out in that saga right now. I've read all 3, and then the final long-awaited Burn of the Everflame is coming out this year, and so I am heavily considering rereading that. I've been really thinking about rereading Fourth Wing. I would love to do that just because I love that series, and we're getting Threshing Day in September, but I know Threshing Day is a little bit more of just a novella, and I actually think I'm gonna save that full reread for when we know the 4th book is coming out. I have been really considering doing an ACOTAR reread. I have reread the first 3 in this series a couple of times because again, it just holds a special place in my heart, being one of the first romantasy series that got me back into reading, because we are getting books 6 and 7. 6 at the end of this year, 7 at the start of the following year. But that is a big commitment, especially because I really probably need to reread Crescent City. But Crescent City is not my favorite Sarah J. Maas series. I think that one I would maybe rank like 4-star, especially the most recent book, House of, what is it? Flame and Shadow. Sorry, I'm looking over here because my shelf's right there. I gave like a 3-star. Not my favorite book of hers, but I wonder if it's gonna be relevant. I don't know, so I'm considering rereading that. But anyway, I just wanted to kind of toss out there all the thoughts that are spinning around in my little head. Truthfully, the main ones that I think will get picked up is gonna be probably one of these, or Dolly All the Time. I also have been considering, speaking of, I accidentally left this off, Carissa Broadbent other books. Yes, Carissa Broadbent books. I have been considering continuing the Crowns of Nyaxia series. I have started and put back down the, it's like a standalone novella, or like not novella, it's like a standalone book within the Crowns of Nyaxia world, Slaying the Vampire Conqueror. I have picked that up, read like the first 2 chapters, put it back down probably 3 times. Not because it's not good, but it's just like, it never is like hitting right when I pick it up. So I've considered picking this back up and getting on that because I really want to read. I'm starting to like fall behind in this series. I read like all of them, like I binged all of them in 2024, or maybe even 2023. I read Serpent in the Wings of Night, 6 Scorched Roses, The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King, The Songbird and the Heart of Stone, and then I stopped. So I really need to read Slaying the Vampire Conqueror, The Fallen and the Kiss of Dusk, and then her newest one, The Lion in the Deathless Dark, looks fantastic. So I really want to kind of like get back into it so I can read that one. But it's like now I have 3, technically 1, because I don't necessarily have to read Slaying the Vampire Conqueror first before I read The Lion in the Deathless Dark, but I kind of want to just like fully catch up. So I have like 2 now that I kind of need to read before I read that one. So I kind of have been playing around with sticking my toe back in that world. But this world is very like Halloween-y. Like it's very like vampires and darkness and spells and potions and things like that. So I actually might hold off on that one until October, and then maybe make it my goal to actually, maybe I'll make that my TBR for October, is just those 3 that I really want to read. And maybe I'll try to get my friends and my local book club book to read Slaying the Vampire Conqueror, since it is a standalone. So you don't actually have to read any of the other in the series, but it's a good one to see if you're interested in the world. So that could actually be a really, really fun idea / compromise. So anyway, that kind of wraps up everything I read in July, everything I've been thinking about for August. I think I kind of dumped all of that into your lap. So these videos are fun because you get to find out, you know, in the wrap-ups what I actually ended up picking. I hope that that is fun for you to kind of hear all of the things I'm thinking about. But yeah, that's everything going on in my brain right now. I so appreciate you guys being here. If you enjoy these videos, if you enjoy my content, please continue supporting me and liking, commenting. Please consider subscribing if you would like. I love making these. I love you guys being here. I love us hanging out. Thank you so much, and I will hopefully see you again next week with my new video.